So welcome to the Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. I'm Suvendrini Kakuchi, and I'm a journalist and the current president of the club. On my left is our speaker today, Dr. Sandra Detzer, and she is a leading politician in the Green Party. She is, and the Green Party, as you know, is now in the coalition government, in the German government. Ms. Detzer is in Japan to investigate Japan's economic security strategy and raw material production, and of course to develop a closer partnership with Japanese companies and politicians. So we will hear from her today the Green Party strategy for the development of a zero-emission society, and also, which we know is very important not only for Germany but for the whole world, as all governments are trying to develop a zero-emission society, economy, and political strategy. I believe that Ms. Detzer is from Baden-Württemberg, which is the home of Mercedes-Benz. And she's also told me she drives an electric battery Mercedes-Benz car. So today the floor is open for questions. She will speak for half an hour, and then we hope to have a lively Q&A on the future of the Green Party, which is, of course, comprised of young politicians committed to the environment and how we can learn from the Green Party. Thank you very much, Ms. Detzer.
Thank you so much for the warm welcome, and hello everyone. Thank you for having invited me to have an exchange here. That's how I see it, that I might give you some impressions of the things that I learned in Japan, and maybe can learn about your question, and I'm happy to answer every question that you have about German green politics in these times. I'm very glad to be in Japan at this point of time. I arrived last Sunday, and I have the whole week to meet a lot of wonderful people that give me an impression how Japan is about to deal with economic security issues. And let me stress that I think we as Germans can learn a lot about what you in Japan do on working about economic security. I will meet, which is a great honor, after our talk here with the Minister for Economic Security issues. I had a great talk with Mr. Kaeda, the Vice President, for example, and I met Mr. Kono, who again gave me very insightful information about how Japanese politics is dealing with this economic situation right now. And it's a great honor that all the people would like to meet me, because I have to admit that I'm everything but a leading politician. This is simply not true.
Is it?
I have to admit that I am a very normal politician who is just is very interested in the Japanese way of doing politics. And as I said, I'm really very glad to be in this great country. Why I'm interested in these economic security issues right now? Well, I think it is pretty obvious that the world changed since we saw the Russian attacks on the Ukraine, especially for Germany, but also for Europe I might say the Western world in general, it was a shock. We did not expect, as Europeans, that our great time of peace would end in such a way. We could not imagine that Russia would really go and attack another country in the neighborhood just because of imperialistic reasons. So everything we thought we knew about economic stability, about the hope of the more and more similarity of political system through trade, it obviously came to an end. And this security is not there anymore. And this is especially true when you look at German energy politics. We depend on Russian gas and oil for a very high level. And we now have to admit as Germans that our allies that warned us for years and decades, you have to say, we shouldn't be that dependent on Russia. They were right. So now there is a huge, I would say, change in sensibility in Germany towards this exposure that we have, towards this vulnerability that we have. And I think this vulnerability is not only not only concerned with energy supply, but also when it comes to raw materials that we need for the energy transformation. Because as you all know, Germany is very keen in being a climate neutral society in the future. So when it comes to energy supply, the new government started to reduce the dependency on gas and oil. We used to have 55% of gas imports from Russia, so more than 50% of our gas came from Russia. We are now down to 35%, which is, I think, a step forward when you see at the small time scale that we had to do that. Oil, we are a little bit better. We are down to around 10% right now. And for in our political strategy, the acceleration of renewables is vivid, is very at the core, at the heart of our new energy supply strategy. This is why the Green Minister for Economic Affairs and Climate, Mr. Habeck, made a huge legislative package to foster the renewables. Then interesting and to foster the renewables, and we plan to have 2% of whole Germany, 2% of the land that we have dedicated to renewables, which means especially photovoltaic and wind. We are at about, our energy comes to almost 50% from renewables right now. And we want to increase this number up to 80% till 2030. So pretty high number, but now it's on us to prove that it will work. And of course, you need the whole legislative framework to do this, because as you all know, Germany is a federal state, so we have a lot of different forms of government, and they have to work together now to really achieve the big goals that we have set to ourselves. Of course, the German strategy is embedded into the European aim to be fit for 55. The European Commission calls their great program to be climate neutral in the future. And we try now to coordinate, to cooperate, especially with the European partners, so that we can achieve our climate aims while securing the competitiveness of the euro economy. And maybe this is the point where I have to explain a little bit why I sit here as a Green Party member, which is obviously not very common. That the Greens are here in Japan to discuss with you politics. For the Green Party, the major aim is now to combine the ecological task that we have to protect our climate with the economic task to be, in Germany, in Europe, a strong economic power also in a climate neutral future. We say we want to have peace between ecological and economic aspects. And we even go one step further and say, when you do your climate neutral homeworks properly, you can have a competitive advantage in world economies in the future. As Germans, we kind of are pretty good, I think, in building machines and constructing things. And we want to do this in the future even with more efficiency, with climate neutral materials, with keen of reusing materials in a circular economy, going away from the linear way, but to be better in reusing the things that we need. Because right now, Germany, Europe, the Western world needs the planet 3 times in 1 year to afford the way we are living right now. We are living on the expense of our children and grandchildren, and of course the DNA of the Green Party is to end this. So I think it's, in my point of view, it's very logical that a Green Party member talks about economic competitiveness in the future in a climate neutral society. And this thought is very common in the Green Party in Germany, and this is maybe one spark, one point, what made us comparatively successful when you look at other Green Parties in the world. We are very clear in the goals that we want to achieve. But I would say that we are very flexible, very pragmatic in the means and instruments that we choose to achieve these goals. And this was kind of a good fundament, a good basis for to be prepared for the things that now happened. Because, for example, when the Greta Thunberg and the Fridays for Future occurred, and all the young people in Germany and Europe especially, also some in Japan I heard, made their ways in the streets to fight for climate justice. We were there. We could use this force because we said, well, we cannot fulfill everything you want. We have to be honest with you. You have high demands on politics. We cannot just put it one-to-one what you want. But what we can promise you is that we take your thought seriously and that we really want to go with you, with a civil society, with a strong civil movement, to achieve this aim of climate neutrality and save the planet, while we have some kind of economic security as well. And that movement also, our very, very famous leaders, namely Annalena Baerbock, our foreign minister now, and Robert Habeck, the Minister for Economic Affairs, they're very, very popular in Germany. And they are, compared to the other politicians, quite young, very appealing. And there are one reason why the Green Party could double the number of members in the last years. We are still a small party, but we really got strength over the last years. We are, in Germany, we have 16 regions, the Länder, and the Green Party is part of the regional governments in 11 out of 16 regions. And since the last federal election, we are part of the federal government as well. So we formed this traffic light coalition, as we like to call it, led by the Social Democrats, the red ones, the liberals in the middle, in yellow, and the Green Party as a third party. And this, I would say that it is green, the green DNA when we were founded 40 years ago was to foster ecological issues, was to strengthen the peace movement, and it was gender equality that made the strong three pillars of our policy. And I think we moved society a little bit. We tried to, we really had success in implementing these ideas in the German political discourse, in the German society. And now you might say that we are kind of getting credit for that work over the last decades. And now people trust us to take responsibility also in governments and also in the governmental work. This said, I come to the third point that I want to make here. After the election took place, the federal election took place, we had even during the campaign, it was clear that after 16 years of conservative government led by our Chancellor Merkel, we had to do something different. We wanted to have a new government, Aufbruch, we call it in German. That means new movement, kind of. And now the geopolitical situation just is the main issue that we are concerned with when it comes to government's affairs in Berlin. But as cruel the situation is, I think it's really a window of opportunity for the democratic alliance, for the alliance of Western and democratic countries to really get closer together. We experienced that effect already in Europe. The Russian attack on the Ukraine caused something that Mr. Putin couldn't have wanted because it brought the European alliance, the allies, stronger together. We reacted, I would say, quite fast to this new situation. We found instruments we made to answer this attack. We had strong sanctions, also thanks to Japanese support, thanks to the US support. There was a very strong statement of the democratic, of the alliances of democracies, that we don't tolerate. We don't want to tolerate this cruel attacks. So what I learned, for example, from my Japanese counterparts is that Japan took refugees from the Ukraine to send a signal, we also support you. And that is an amazing step, because I know how the discussion about migration is in Japan. And that you did this is a very strong signal that we are fighting for our values in this situation. And we have to be thankful that the Ukrainians are that brave, that they fight for our freedom as well. So I think, although we never wanted this war to happen, it is a window of opportunity that we join the forces within democratic alliance, not only with words, not only saying that we share common values, but only to move forward to really tighten the economic relationships towards a climate neutral future. This means, for example, in my small topic that I'm concerned with, joining forces when it comes to the mining and to the production of raw material, which we need for the carbon neutral future. And Japan is very good in doing this, so I really hope we can learn more from you. Maybe Germany, maybe the Green Party can give some ideas to how we can proceed and be together successful in the future. At least I have the impression after this week of being in Japan that this could be a possible way, and now I'm really looking forward to your questions and the discussion. Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. So the floor is open for questions. I think I'll go with the people present here first. Anyone on? Yes. Yes, Ken. Yeah, and dozo. Can you come? I think, yeah. Did you put your hand up? Yeah.
My name is Kurt Sieber. Thank you so much for your presentation, and I have a few questions. Actually, I'm an associate member here, and I'm Swiss, so I'm pretty close to Germany. My first very simple question comes to your car. We are all in favor of electric cars, but the problem is really how to produce the electricity or the material for the. There is a similar situation with hydrogen. Hydrogen is not a fuel; it is it is like a battery where you can keep, which is very important. But a very specific question which concerns ourselves is we are having now a cost of about 40 yen per kilowatt hour here in Japan, which is if I discuss that with my sister in Switzerland, that nobody can understand that. There is by the way, I just read the half-year results of one of the biggest one, and actually there is a Sieber there who is the big boss, but that has nothing to do with me. But it can be done, and second is also that the rates for day and night are different. In Japan, there is a lot of complaint. With the solar, obviously, I have my own solar on the roof. You get enough electricity during the day, but obviously, when the sun is going off, then you have to have a good battery system, which I do have. But this brings me to the prices. Now, I have excess during the day, which I sell to the Tokyo electricity. So Toden, yes. But for that I get 8.5 yen per kilowatt hour. And when I don't have enough and buy it, I pay 40 for my own electricity, which is coming up. So how do you settle these problems in Germany? And that it becomes practical, that it's doable. Thank you so much.
Good.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for the question, because the whole energy transformation that we want to do now in Germany is now at a point that we are all clear that we want to have it. Now we have to do it. And we have to be very good in it because it depends a lot on that we achieve our goals and that we do have cheap and clean energy supply in the future. You're absolutely right. I would say that a little bit the political will was a problem in the last years. Basically, also the old government knew that they have to do something, and they changed a couple of things. But we'll also have the new government to make things happen, because people expect us to really go the next steps. So we're in a kind of time in between. We now started to make concrete steps forward, but we are not there where we want to be. Of course not. This is obvious when you look at this, the gas, the question whether we can stop energy imports from Russia right now. And I think the federal minister was right not to stop the imports right now, because right now we still depend on this gas. So it is the main task is to have more renewables, and as you said, to have the cables and the whole infrastructure to make them stable, because we need, our companies need energy also when there's no sun and no wind, but that we have the technical solutions to cope with this situation. It's not that we do not have batteries. It's that we need more batteries, and then again we have the raw material problem. And we really have to make sure that we do not have the dependency that we now have from Russian gas, have it from Chinese raw material in the future. Because when we look at the market right now, Germans are very, they're a little bit, how do you say, we love this market economy stuff. Since Ludwig Erhard, the old minister who invented the social market economy, now we say we will have a social and ecological market economy. We got used to cheap world market prices. And we thought that we can buy everything on the world market. But now we're like, there's an age where we have to have the fear that the world market is not providing us with the raw materials that we need, because 60% and more of this raw material already is in Chinese hands. And we experience with Russia what can happen. And Japan experienced in 2010 when it came to rare earth imports from China. What can happen when you rely on a country and they decide politically they do not want to import your material anymore. And this is exactly the question that we have to face to make sure that our raw material supply for batteries, for the climate neutral infrastructure is a place when we need it. This is the economic, I would say it's a matter of risk management that Germany, but I think also other Western countries have to do, that we really secure our supply chain. So when it comes to prices, in Germany right now the inflation is 7%, all-time high, a very high number. And this causes a lot of problems, especially for people with a small and medium income. Of course, petrol station price, the petrol price is high, heating is high. We are all happy that it is summer and that we might reduce some of the energy demand. But still, and we had a couple of measures from like the government to reduce the burdens for the citizens. For example, there was a subsidy of 300 euros for everyone to at least have a little easing of the burden that the people feel right now. But we know that we have, and it's interesting maybe for you that we are very clear this is a so-called fossilflation, because the increasing in prices comes directly from the rises in gas prices. The gas price went up 50% when you compare it to the last year. And the price of the import price of gas is plus 300%. So this makes clear that when you end up having an inflation of 7%, the energy prices have a very high impact at the moment right now. And also because of this, it's a matter of economic rationality to make sure that this won't happen again, that we have a kind of stability, that we have it is like easier for the companies to forecast energy prices. And there's also an argument for our debate to have more renewables, because the sun does not send a bill. This is a sentence we use quite often. When you have the renewables and the infrastructure, you're quite independent of political regimes that might use energy supply as a political pressure. So. For that, as I said, we have to have the raw materials and the batteries. We have to have the energy supply infrastructure with all the cables and smart home and stuff, and to coordinate the production and the demand side. And of course, there is another interesting thing when it comes to the use of nuclear power plants, for example. Because I really learned that in the Japanese discussion, nuclear power plays an important role for the energy supply. And for right now, in Germany, we decided not to reactivate the nuclear power plants, which should be closed by this year, since we decided to quit nuclear power plants after all. So even in that dramatic situation right now, we do not plan to use nuclears in Germany because we think, well, the two main reasons are that we think it's really dangerous. When we saw, for example, the Russian troops coming in Chernobyl again, there were a high moment of insecurity. What will happen with this reactor, and when what will the Russians do? We had the fear that they might use this danger to spread fear amongst the European countries, that there might also be a nuclear factor in this war. So we think it's really dangerous, setting aside that we do not know what to do with the waste still. And it's expensive. It's really expensive nuclear to produce power from a nuclear way. When you compare the prices of production costs of nuclear, it's more than 30 cents per unit. Most studies say 35 something. And when it comes to renewables, you're talking about a price that is between 3 and 7 cents per unit. So it's, of course, because you for renewables, the source of energy is just there, and nuclear power is also, I think, became so. Could become a major source of energy supply because we have hardly subsidized it from the government side. We took away the risk, basically, of these plants, and we made sure that and now, for example, the waste deposit is majorly financed by the government's expenditures, and this is not market economy, at least as we view it from the green point of view. So I think there is an economic point in thinking about using renewables more, but absolutely true that you have to have like the real infrastructure in which it is embedded. But if we have that, if we have good also through digitalization, a good combination of production of energy and demand side, it will be the cheapest way to have energy supply at all. And this is why we really want to speed up and succeed in it. So that maybe the German example is something that other countries will follow. Let's see. That's the task.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, actually. We trying to do it from all sides, but since we are on renewables, if there's any questions on renewables around, well, I've been reading that it's been very difficult to go ahead with wind power, that making turbines is, the Green Party is kind of slow in producing wind power. Is your visit to Japan for the raw materials trying to speed up the wind turbines and wind power in Germany?
I think we need raw materials for every kind of application that we need to be a climate neutral society. So my interest is not only about raw materials in windmills, but it is for raw materials in all the devices that we need in the carbon neutral future, which goes from battery to windmills to photovoltaic and circular economy. So there are there are tensions between the different aims, between the different tensions between the policy goals that we have. And this is the same all over the world. It's easy to know what you want in one direction, but normally you have to combine with other goals as well. And then it's difficult. Then it becomes difficult. And this is why we have politics. To have a good, that politics can take into account the different goals we have, secure energy supply, high ecological standards, high participation of the civil society in these processes, fast processes. Right now, it takes 7 years in Germany to build a windmill. This is too long. We love to be bureaucratic and we love detailed planning, but even for us, it's too long. So we have to speed it up. We have to have shorter processes when it comes to the expenditure of renewables. And these aims they have a certain hierarchy. Of course, it's the most important thing for for a strong industry-based country to have a stable energy supply. But on the other hand, for example, the German Constitutional Court said you have to take more into account the interests of the future generations when it comes to climate policy. You cannot only focus on what you're doing right now. You're hurting next generations with what you're doing. And this was a very clear sentence for the first time of the highest German court, that they said that the old government didn't do enough to protect future generations. So with this example, you see that it is not that we can say just put the windmill over there. You also have to respect that it has to be on certain ecological standards, because we have a huge crisis in climate in biodiversity, as you might know. Biodiversity has shrunken a lot, and this is also a menace to the global environment. So we have to combine these different goals that we have, and I'm glad that we have a compromise now between the Ministry for Environmental Affairs and the Ministry for Economic Affairs in Germany right now, how to combine the windmill construction and the ecological issues right now. This is difficult. It's not easy. You have to really fight and struggle again, to really do it properly. But everyone is very clear about that we have to do it and to get together.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me go into the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the impact on Germany. We have a question here from Ilgin Yorulzmaz. She's from BBC Turkey. And she wants to know that, what ways can Germany's dramatic shift in defense posture and spending after Russia's invasion of Ukraine be replicated by Japan? You are increasing your spending, so that's happening in Japan. Is that...
I don't know if we can, as Germany, give an example how really to do it, but what I can say is that we're indeed talking a lot about raising expenditures in the defense sector. What is at stake right now is we put 100 billion euros once to strengthen our defense capabilities within the strong European alliance and the NATO alliance. But this will be this expenditure is planned to be for one time only. And when it comes to structural changes, we plan to approach this famous 2% goal we have within NATO, but in a broader sense, so to say, of the 2% aim. That was very, very important for my party, especially in the negotiations, because we said it's not the fixed figure that we should focus on, but after all, our planes should fly, our ship should sail, and the guns should work when we need it, and this is the important question after all. So Germany is definitely, the government is very clear about that we should have that there should be a higher expenditure in defense capabilities, and now we try to do it in a way that makes us stronger within Europe and within the NATO alliance, and that we are kind of also are again able to defend our territories again, because our German militaries have sorrows that we are not, that the kind of the peacetime that we had kind of made us a little bit lazy, not so focused on the defense issues, and this time terribly stopped with the Russian attacks. So it is our aim, together with the European and Western alliance, to strengthen our own capabilities, but also make sure that we can combine the forces, so that we can, for example, use helicopters together with France, and use, so that we do not have only national security budgets, but we have a kind of burden sharing within the alliance. That is very important to my party.
And a related question, Eric Johnston from the Japan Times. Prime Minister Kishida will become the first ever Japanese Prime Minister to attend the NATO summit later this month. What does his visit mean? Do you expect it to lead to stronger cooperation, not only Japan and NATO, but also between Germany and Japan?
Well, as I said before, I think that the Russian attacks are a real opening up a window for new cooperation within the alliance of democratic states. And I think that it is right that now Japan and Europe, for example, it was right that Chancellor Scholz came to Japan and strengthened the ties between Japan and Germany. And it's definitely right that Japan joins the thoughts of NATO actions, because it's important that we are gaining weight again together as Western coalition. I think we used to think that things are just going in the right direction by their own. That's just a kind of easy way that will lead us to a good future. But unfortunately, this Ukraine war proves us wrong, and now we have to really do our homework to join our forces, and therefore it's really necessary to talk to each other and to learn from each other, maybe in a stronger way than we did in the past years.
Okay, thank you. And he has one more question. Kishida talks about the importance of renewable energy, but the nuclear lobby in Japan is very strong. So, what is it like in Germany? I mean, because of the fallout of rising oil and gas prices, has the German government's traditional enthusiasm for renewables further decreased or increased?
Strongly increased, because as I tried to explain, we hope that the renewables will strongly reduce our dependency on energy imports. So it would, we say that now the freedom energies, as it called, they were called by the Minister of Finance, Christian Lindner. The freedom energies, which he called the renewables, are really a way also to securing economic security. And this is maybe a point that will be discussed in Japan in the future, that energy supply is also a matter of economic security, because as far as I know, till so far, it's not so strongly discussed within the economic security bill. And we take that very seriously, and we want to reduce this dependency, because now we really experienced what problems that brings, and we do not want this situation again that we have now regarding the Russian oil and gas imports that are really problems for us.
Okay, so we can take one more question. I think we have Mr. Tom Sullivan, who is an associate member. How does Ms. Detzer respond to the criticism that her party may be indirectly responsible for the Ukraine war because of the closure of Germany's nuclear power plants, which led to the construction of Nord Stream 2 that bypassed Ukraine and may have encouraged the Russians to invade Ukraine?
My Green Party was always against Nord Stream 2, because we said this is like a fossil dinosaur from old ages. We shouldn't do that, because it again increases the dependency. It does not matter to look back and search mistakes in the past. But when you look at some videos a couple of years ago, and then Robert Habeck explained how dangerous it is to rely so much on cheap Russian gas, you really cannot understand even more why this wasn't seen from more people. But anyways, it doesn't make sense to look back. We look forward. And for the future in our vision lies not in gas and oil and the fossils, does not lie in nuclear, but lies in the renewables. And we are very serious about that. And now, as I said, we have to succeed in proving that we are right.
Okay. And one more question. How does Ms. Detzer react to the criticism that the Zeitenwende announced by Chancellor Schloss was good sloganeering, but in the words of the New York Times, Germany spoke up but did little?
Yes, indeed, we have to fill the Zeitenwende, that you might translate it as the new paradigm of transformation in time. We have to prove that there is something behind it, that it's not only a word, but we have to fulfill, we have to fill it with actions. I think that, for example, the support with weapons of the Ukrainians is a very step for Germany. And also the rise in defense expenditures of 100 billion is a huge step for us. I might mention also for the Green Party, because we had long we are a pacifist party, and we still believe that we should work towards peace globally. But this peace should include that countries have the right to defend themselves. So this is the reason why also huge majority in the Green Party supports the way we are dealing with the Ukraine, and that we support it to defend themselves, in the hope that this might lead to more countries that can have their values and freedom and self-expression. That is our thought about that. But still, so what I wanted to say is we made steps towards a new responsibility of Germany also within the world order. But we know we are not there yet, where we want to be, where we should be. And I hope we will succeed in making our allies more satisfied with us in the future.
Any other questions from the floor? Well, just one, maybe the final, maybe a little bit of advice for the Greens in Japan. I mean, it's still not, I mean, the anti-nuclear movement is also not, I mean, it's there, but, it's not as strong as maybe what you are doing. Of course, every step is a challenge. I've been reading that, the opposition to, say, to wind turbines, for example, in Germany is still quite strong. So how do you keep your, the flag of the Green Party so strong?
It's I really don't want to give advice, but what I can say, what worked for us as a Green Party in Germany is really are the three pillars of our political work that are really, really important to us. That is combining ecology and the economic aspects of society to make the climate neutral future work for the many, for a lot of people. That is very important, I think, to have this light build, the paradigm, you might translate it. The second is, yes, it's the peace movement, and we should stick to it, especially in this world which became more insecure again because of the Russian attacks. And the third thing that people kind of cherish, I think, with the Green Party, is the gender equality, and to really empower, especially women, to take a real responsibility in society, because we know that, for example, enterprises, they work better, they perform better, they have better values when the women's participation is there and is strong. For example, my party, we have a kind of SIPA system when it comes to elections. So whenever we have a candidate list, we have to change between women and men candidates. So one is always women, and the second is then man or other gender And this goes on and on and on. So we have in almost all parliament, we have 50% of women of members of parliament belonging to the Green Party, which is the voters, they do cherish this attitude of the Green Party, because they know that when they want to achieve, they want to see more gender equality and the lessening of the gender pay gap, for example, they can address to us, and the Green Party will really work hard for it. So, as I said, we are pretty clear in what we want to achieve. We are very flexible in the ways, we are pragmatic, but this is certainly something that helps a lot. And I would really, love to see other successful Green parties around the world, because I think it's a very good thing to have a strong Green Party in the democratic system.
Yes, definitely, especially the new generations, I think.
Yep.
It's a huge appeal. Thank you very much. And if there's no questions, I would like to thank Ms. Detzer again for coming to the Foreign Correspondents Club. And as a token, we give you an honorary membership.
Oh, wow.
So you can use the club if you're a member. So thank you very much for coming. Okay. Thank you. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everyone. Thank you. Thank you for your interest. Thank you.